All right, and give it just a couple seconds and you can go.
Oh, here's Eileen.
All right, you should be good to go.
Okay. If Eileen's here, she can call it to order unless she wants me to.
Hi,
Eileen, you want, there you go.
sorry. Great. Do we have?
We have a quorum.
We have a quorum. Okay. Sorry, Mark, I couldn't. Oh, there you are. Okay. Sorry for being late. Okay, it is 7:01. We can call the meeting to order. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. So we can start with public comment. Do we have anybody here to speak to public comment?
I see no indication of that.
Okay, neither do I. Great. Let me just pull up the agenda again. Sorry.
It is police is our
Okay.
first item of business.
Great. Then let's start with the Brookfield Police Department.
Okay, well, good evening, everybody, and thank you for inviting us to talk about our budget with you again this year. And I think, although I don't know, the last public meeting that I physically attended was the Board of Finance on March 10th of 2020, before we all ended up going into lockdown. So it's been 1 year, and we're still not able to see you guys in person, but it's good. I saw Dan the other day at the deli, so at least we're seeing each other out and about. So
the delicious breakfast burrito. Thank you very much.
So once again, thank you for having us. I do have a brief PowerPoint, so I'm just going to put it up, and then hopefully I'll be able to figure out how to get this thing shared. Can you see that?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
You can? Okay, good. So we're here to talk about our budget tonight on March 11th, 1 year away from the big shutdown. And I'm just going to go through this brief outline. It shouldn't take all that long, but the people who are with me tonight to answer any questions you might have are John Puglisi, who may come in and out. I don't know. He was going to touch bases at a zoning meeting because we're trying to still get that garage built on town property, and we ran into some hiccups there. So he may be in and out, but John's our major. He's the executive officer and our operations commander. Pete Franks is also here. He's our captain. He's our administrative services commander. He handles such things as payroll and scheduling, and he manages the facility and the fleet, and he's got quite a few other things on his portfolio. And also with us is Matt Donadio. He's a sergeant, and he's our technology guru. He pretty much handles everything here that has anything to do with technology. He is helped out a little bit now by Brian Flanagan since he came back from his military deployment. But Matt manages everything from our brand new body-worn camera program to the phone system to the network to our CAD and RMS system, in-car video, anything technology. Matt's in charge of it. Briefly get a touch on our mission. Then I'm going to look at the overall budget and then talk about salary and wage detail, operations detail, capital needs, and then I'll discuss a few of the challenges that we face and some of the things that we think are important coming up in the future that we'd like you to be aware of because we're going to be touching them at some point. And then, we're here to answer your questions. Really, we're here to give you the information you need to make a good decision on our budget. So with that having been said, this past year has been a trying one for all of us, starting with the COVID-19 pandemic, the quarantines we all experienced, the civil unrest, the political turmoil that the country found itself in, and we still seem to be foundering, although there seems to be some light at the tunnel. But throughout it all, our mission has remained the same. What we do in our community has been the same. We are the agency that provides Brookfield with the finest public safety services, and we do it in an ethical, professional, and sensitive way. We do it by preserving the peace, promoting safety, and protecting lives and property. Our actions have always been based on respect for the constitutional rights of all people, and we're committed to maintaining good communications with our federal citizens to solve problems and help keep Brookfield a safe community so that we can all enjoy life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's what it's all about. That's what it's always been all about. And we're very proud of the work our officers do every day to that end. We hope the citizens of Brookfield feel that we do meet our mission and then some. So with that having been said, what's it take to do all this? And that's our budget. Excuse me, I'm just rearranging my screen here so I can see everything. Our overall budget this year, and there's an asterisk by that number, that $4,626,523 with the asterisk. And the asterisk refers to the one union contract that does expire at the end of June. So there may have to be some contingencies in this number somewhere. And I'm sure Marcia will speak to that as you continue on your deliberations. But essentially, our budget, as you see it here before you, the sworn salary items, the civilian salary items, and the operations numbers, those are the numbers that go into that $4,626,523. The training dollars there, that $148,860, which represents about 3.2% of our overall budget, is derived from those salary items and operations. That's not an add-on number. That's a number that's already included in those other numbers. Operations looks at about 9% of our overall budget. And then as we tell you every year, and I know you know it because it's the same with all the larger departments, especially, our salary is about 88% of what we do is salary, wages, benefits, and things of that nature. And then tonight, we're also going to talk about a capital request for $185,266. It's down from last year, but it's been paired a little bit by the First Selectman and the Board of Selectmen. So the number you see there is the number that was presented to you by the Board of Selectmen, and that's the number we'll talk about. Now, when you look at our salary detail, the sworn officers account for just over $3 million of that salary number. We are taking into account a 2.25% raise to the police union contract for this coming year, and we still have 4 officers in pay steps, so they get a little bit more than that 2.25%. As they move up in a step, they get a bump up, but each step gets that 2.25% bump as they go along. So it turns out that they get a little bit more. And instead of seeing 2.25% out to the right on your sheets, you see a higher number. And that's to account for those factors. Also included in that are the salaries of the major, the captain, and myself. We're the non-union sworn officers in the department. Our civilians, there are 8 full-time dispatchers. We're allowed to have 2 part-time dispatchers, and there are 2 full-time clerical staff in the agency, and they account for just over $500,000 in salary. And then the other wage items include overtime, shift differential, specialty pay, holiday pay, longevity pay, things of that nature. Added all together, they're another over $500,000 to our budget. Some of the training overtime increases are due to the Police Accountability Act this year. There's a bump up in training, but it's also due to the salary increase as well. Holiday and overtime increases are primarily due to salary. When we get to the operations side of our budget, again, remember we're talking a relatively small amount of our budget. It's 9%, but we spend an awful lot of time there, and this budget allows us to do the things we need to do. So it's very important to us. Everything in there is important to us. In the 52,960 line, and this isn't all of them, I just broke out some of the more prominent ones, but we're happy to answer questions on any of them as you go through. I'm sure you have everything in front of you. But the recruitment and health maintenance up a little bit this year, but that's deceiving because we took out one test. We gave a detective test last year. We don't have to do that this year. So there's one test that came out, but added into that is Police Accountability Act related testing for drugs for anybody who is being recertified this year, as well as mandatory mental health wellness checks for 20% of the agency. And I have prices on those that I can talk about if you have an interest, but they're added costs. We can't do anything about them. We have to do them. It's the law as of last fall. Membership and dues. There's a decrease in this line, primarily because we moved the printed field manuals that all our officers carry and that are republished every year. We moved it out of this line and we moved it down to the equipment line, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. Safety equipment, there's a bump up in this line this year, primarily due to the fact that our AED pads are due in their 2-year replacement cycle. They weren't in there last year because they were all still good, but we have to wholesale go through all the AEDs, and we not only take care of the AEDs in the police department, but in the town buildings as well. So all of those pad replacements are in this budget, and that's what's bumped that up a little bit this year. Now, this is the biggest bump in amount this year. This is about $25,000 up in equipment maintenance and repair, and that's almost entirely due to the body worn camera cost that we're going to have in the budget each year. As you'll recall, we upfront spent about $115,000. Much of that is going to be recoverable through grant monies and other things. But then there's an ongoing cost to this program of about $25,000 a year moving out into the future. We did begin our body worn camera program on January 19th. It's been running very well, and Matt Donadio can probably speak to that if you need information a little bit later.
Jay, can I ask you a question?
Yep.
Would you like us to ask questions as we go along or save them to the end, first of all?
Whatever, it's your meeting, Mark, so you do what you think is best. If you've got something on your mind and you want to answer, ask away.
Well, I guess it's Eileen's meeting, but assuming it's okay with her. Did we know when we were buying body cameras that there was going to be a $25,000 a year maintenance cost on them?
Oh,
I
sure.
shouldn't call it just maintenance, but.
No, it's well, you know what Mark, what they do is we get replacements for the cameras. It's not only maintenance, but it's cloud storage and all the software upgrades. Everything is taken care of in that amount. And the answer to your question is yes. That was fully talked about at the meeting when we came to you guys for some of the funding.
All right.
And actually, it was higher in the later years. And we brought that up in year 1 so we could take better advantage of the grant. So that's a lower number than what they had originally proposed.
Yeah, originally it was going to be about $28,000 a year in ongoing cost of ownership. And we worked very closely with Marcia and her staff to try and move as much as we could into year 1. Brian Flanagan, Matt Donadio, Marcia, they all worked together. We tried to move as much into that year 1 so that we could recover it as part of the grant. So it did lower the ongoing years, but this is something we have to live with.
And when do we expect to get the money back from the grant?
That's a good question.
Getting money from the state, as Marcia well knows, because we're dealing with another state grant program right now, but they did announce the grant. And so we're ready to move forward with that. They finally announced the grant. They were supposed to have it out the first of the year. They just announced it the beginning of the week or the end of last week. And so we're working on putting that all together.
So, excuse me for not remembering, did we buy them with out of operations money or capital money?
A little bit here and there, I think, Marcia, right?
Yes, so we bought 76,000 was out of capital money, bonded capital from a number of years ago. That some of it is coming out of the asset forfeiture fund. That's backstopping all of it, so that if we don't get a grant, which we certainly expected to get a grant, they promised it, but we didn't have it in hand. The asset forfeiture fund will backstop the money.
So if the grant comes back in, you pay off the bonded money first and then the asset forfeiture?
I
does that
would say we do it operations first because we really want to spend that bonded money because it's been out for 3 or 4 years. We want to clear that out so that we don't have any issues with the bonding regulations.
There are also rules, Mark, on paying down your debt. There are limitations, you know.
Understood.
Jay, can I ask a slightly unrelated question related to body cams but not budget?
Sure, Eileen.
Is there like a statute of limitations of how long you have to maintain the data? I mean, I can imagine that the data is a pretty hefty storage fee,
It's not quite. Yes, there are retention periods specified in law. Our minimum retention period right now is 90 days, but some of these videos can live forever, depending upon the nature of the case.
Okay.
You know,
And
if they're major cases, they have to live throughout the trial, and then they have to live at least, some of them have to live at least 10 years beyond resolution of the case. Some of them might have to live forever. So that's why we went towards the cloud storage, because it's not unlimited, but you know, we have a finite amount of storage, but it's not here in the building, and it's not subject to fires and all that other stuff. And it's a lot more reasonable for us to contract the storage than to do it ourselves. And the security these days is such that the courts have recognized cloud storage as being acceptable. And so that's why everybody's moved that way, pretty much.
I work in pharma, that's what we use.
Yeah,
I work in pharma, that's what we use.
Yeah, and the system we bought, it's interesting to note that Danbury has just gone with it, New Milford's going with it, so we're not alone in this. This is, it's the Axon system, and it's. I wear one. We all wear them. They're easy to use. They're pretty rugged, and so far so good. And again, Matt can talk to that a little bit later.
Thank you.
And so moving along in the communications line, you see that line is down a little bit. You'll recall last year we started finding some savings. You know, the purchasing department was able to negotiate some better contracts and so forth. So we're reflecting some of those savings here tonight in this decrease in this line. That's primarily the phone lines that power our radio system and what have you. So those are pretty costly lines because of the nature of the traffic they carry. In equipment, we're up a little bit there. You'll recall we moved the field manuals down into equipment, so that brings that up. In addition, we're finding ammunition costs are significantly higher these days than they have been in the past. We've also had to continue to buy time at an indoor range and another outdoor range because we haven't been allowed back at the FCI in Danbury. Everything's been locked down and restricted, and we have absolutely no idea when that's going to be lifted, if even it's lifted. So those are costs that we thought we could shed, but they're back in this year to some extent. And then there are a couple pieces of equipment that the scuba team needed that were an enhancement this year. If John Puglisi's on, he can talk to those if you have any questions regarding those. Technology and related hardware. These are some items that, because of their relatively low cost, they were previously classified as capital, but we've decided these lower cost capital style items that have multiple year lifespans, we would move it into the operating budget. They did that last year. This year is a little bit higher there. The firewalls is probably the item that drives that a little bit higher. And continuing education and training is a bump up. That reflects increased ammo costs for training. The equipment line shows duty ammo. This line shows ammo costs for training. The range rentals built in there. And then tuition assistance for the union contract. We stripped that out last year to try and save money for COVID. We stripped out about $6,000 from this line last year. Marcia, is that correct? About $6,000?
Oh, you're challenging my memory.
All right, I think it was about $6,000. I think my memory's okay, but it was about $6,000. And so that line is up about 25% over the previous year, but that previous year number was artificially low because we took money away from it that had already been approved. We did that mid-year. And these are some of the things that the Police Accountability Act is driving into our budget. The drug tests are approximately $200 a piece. Mental health wellness checks are $275 each. The drug tests, there are 3 groups of people, so it's about 12 people a year that we have to pay drug tests for, so that's $2,400. The mental health wellness checks, we have to do about 20% of the force every year, so that's another few $1,000s. The body-worn camera equipment, they're mandated, and we will be coming back with upgrades to our dash cameras because they're requiring dash cameras in vehicle, at least 1 or 2 vehicles that we don't have them in right now. So we might have to step up and do that prior to the next fiscal year, but we could probably recover that through outside services to get it going. There are use of force training issues that we're going to have to deal with. There are other training issues dealing with implicit bias, de-escalation. We had included a less lethal force option, which is called a BOLA wrap. Several agencies are going towards that. It's basically a remote handcuffing tool. If you know what a BOLA is, it's a rope with 2 weighted ends, and it's fired from a unit held by hand. It's fired towards an individual, and it wraps them up without damaging them, but it incapacitates them so that they can't move. It's something you could use in a mental health crisis or something like that without going maybe to the taser or something along those lines. So it's another option. It was taken out. We may have to revisit that depending upon how all these things develop in legislation. There are restrictions on the military equipment that we have. When I talk about capital, I'm going to talk about patrol rifles. We have several patrol rifles that were acquired for us through the 1033 program. This legislation is requiring us to give them back, so we won't have them. Use of social workers.
So just on that military equipment line, so is that all we have is a few rifles that we have to give back?
Yeah, we had over the years, we had an armored vehicle that when we were running our own emergency services team, we acquired an armored vehicle. It was a Lincoln Navigator or something like that.
Right.
But it was up armored, and the contemplation was to use it as a victim extraction type vehicle.
Sure.
So if somebody was down and we needed to approach them under fire, we could get in, get them out, and bring them back. We now operate cooperatively with the Danbury Police Emergency Services team, so we don't have a need for that anymore. So that was sent back. And we did have a couple of Zodiac boats that were constantly leaking and so forth that we got, and they're gone also. So the only remnant equipment we had from the 1033 program was these rifles.
Because I did notice less than a month after they passed that Police Accountability Act, they thought there was going to be terror at the Capitol, and they called in all the military vehicles from the state police.
Well, sure.
Very interesting that it's good to protect them, but not good enough for you to use.
Well, we won't get into the politics, Mark.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Jag, do you mind if I interrupt just because you're on the screen here, this particular slide? Regarding the body worn camera, I see the screenshot here says Axon Body 3.
Yep.
So I'm sort of familiar with these cameras. Now, the model that you're purchasing, does it have the capability to live stream back to dispatch in case of, more so to protect you and your environment? Because I know that's a functionality that's available in that particular model. Is that what we're getting for you guys?
It does. Matt, do you want to speak to that?
I'm sorry to hijack the conversation, but I just saw it. It's just a question there.
Matt Donadio, do you want to speak to that? I guess Matt might have dropped out. I saw him on before.
Jay, I could speak to that.
All right, John, go. Feel free. I mean, I could speak to it too, but I figured I'd defer to Matt.
Yes, we do have that option, John, and we did put it in so that the supervisors can, if there's an officer that we can't get a hold of, or on a certain type of call, the supervisor may need to remote in and activate the camera. So we do have that ability to do that.
Okay, great. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
It's all governed by policy, John, that we have a very extensive policy governing the use of the body cams, when they have to be used, when they shouldn't be used. And some of these options where there might be privacy concerns, there has to be justification to do things, but they are GPS equipped. There's a citizen component to the entire program where people can send information into us through the evidence background program to the whole thing. We're trying to get it established here for us using it, and at some point then we will roll out the citizen opt-in portions of this to expand on what the capabilities of the system are. So right now we're concentrating on us getting it right, and then we'll gradually open it up and start utilizing many of the features a little bit more fully.
Good. I'm just happy to hear that you'll have that as an option just to protect you guys and whatever you come into contact with. So great.
Yeah. And I just, and the reason I have the body cam, this is actually a video. So show and tell, almost like Park and Rec with aerial videos and so forth. But I thought I'd just show you a brief clip on the body cam. What you'll see is you'll hear the voice drop out, and that's by design. That's voice redaction, and then you'll see some visual redaction. You see a blurring of the computer screen because that contains information which isn't releasable to the public. And then you'll see some facial blurring, license plate blurring, and so forth. It's just a quick video, and I'll play it for you now.
Really? Southbound Super 7.
And that's redacted.
VW Jeff. How you doing? Good.
And again, the voice is being redacted here, and the faces are being blurred out. You can see Corporal Brooks. I mean, if you look closely, this is the camera right here, and that's the way it sets up on the officers, that they just wear it on their outermost garment, facing forward, usually at about the mid-chest level. And as you can see, it's pretty good quality video. The microphone is very sensitive. And the quality of the video is excellent. And again, these files are retained. This is a traffic stop. I don't know what enforcement, if any, was taken, but it would certainly have to live at least until the enforcement runs its course, that sort of thing, if there were anything there. Now, what it doesn't show is the violation for which the individual officer was stopped in the first place. For that, you'd have to go back to the in-car video, which would show that. So, I mean, it's an accumulation of everything, but it's a great tool for transparency. What you see is what you get, and you're really getting the officer's perspective on this.
Thank you, Jay.
So we're going to move into capital needs now. Pete Frangs is with us, so I'm going to let him speak to our vehicles. Pete, you want to just talk about what we had requested and why we're at this $103,000 this year?
Sure. So we're looking to replace 2 of our patrol vehicles. With that, we're going to replace 2 of our private duty vehicles. Obviously, we roll over the patrol fleet to that part of the fleet to do road jobs and whatnot. We're down 2 of our private duty vehicles right now with transmission issues, so we're not replacing them. Originally in my request, I had asked for 3, but looking at mileage and whatnot, 2 will suffice. The other issue with the vehicles, in addition to mileage, is engine hours. We're getting vehicles that have 9,000 hours in addition to 80,000 miles on them. So part of that is the vehicles are being serviced sooner than 3,000 or 4,000 miles. Jeff and Dee are watching the hours and oil life. And the vehicle's still, for the 103, we still need to replace all the components because Ford switched the design 2 years ago. So I can't reuse any of the consoles, the cage in between the front and the back. So until they stop redesigning the vehicles, we have to replace the full everything that goes into them.
Also with the vehicles, there is a, for one of the admin vehicles, and I'm sure Steve has spoken about this earlier, and the electric vehicle grant program that Greg Dembowski is working on. We are slated to get one of those electric vehicles for the police department if that comes about. And it'll be a great pilot for us to see how that works in terms of charging. Right now, we're looking to do it as an admin detective vehicle as opposed to a frontline patrol vehicle, because I don't think the cages and all the stuff that Pete just spoke about, I don't think they've been designed for any electric vehicles yet. And what we do is cobble something together, and we're trying to standardize what we have so that when our officers move from one vehicle to another, it's the same. So there's not any questions about where the camera is, where the computer is, where the rifle is held, where the first aid kit or the defibrillator, any of that stuff is. It's all the same, every vehicle to vehicle. So we worked hard to get that. But that being said, the detective vehicles and the admin vehicles can certainly be a little bit more less structured than that. And so we're going to try and, if that grant comes about, we hope it will. It'll be an interesting experiment to see how the electric vehicle holds up to what we do. Patrol rifle replacement. We put in there an amount of $65,000. I think Jules had forwarded information to you. You wanted more specifics on those numbers to see how real those numbers were. They're actually real numbers. And I think he provided you with the information you requested. The net amount, that $65,000 is a net amount. The actual cost of the rifles that we want to get is larger, but there's a trade-in value to the ones we have. And so there's several reasons for wanting to replace these rifles at this time. Among them are the current rifles are 18 years old and increasingly in need of repair. From time to time, that's labor intensive and getting the parts. The goal is for everyone to have the same weapon. Now it's Heinz 57 varieties. We're all over the place with some of these rifles. Some have optics, some don't. Some lights are one design, some lights are another design. We want to standardize and get everything the same. And the Police Accountability Act is going to require us to return some of the rifles we do have. So we have to buy new ones anyway. So let's do it. Let's do it right. And I think this is the best time to do it. And that's why we're asking for that now. Matt, are you on again? Can we check? Are you there? No, I guess not.
He's there, but I don't think he can. His name is there.
He might not be able to unmute himself or something.
Yeah.
Turn on his body cam.
Sorry about that. He's working from home. Pete, I'm here in the office and Pete's in the office, but I think Matt's out in New Milford, so he's home already. But he's also, not only is he a technology guy, but he's one of our firearms instructors. And he works with Sergeant Chris Rosato, who's our other firearms instructor, and they're both armorers. And these things are just starting to cost a lot of time and money, and this is the right time to get it done and to do it right. And then the telephone radio recording equipment. This is a system which was last replaced in 2013. As you know, with any of these technology systems, they have a lifespan. We're starting to experience multiple fails. It's critical that we have good recordings of our radio traffic and our telephone traffic. And it's not only us, but the fire department, the public works department, everybody is recorded on this one system. So this is critical that we have that. And then considerations for the near future. Brookfield's growing. We expect our population to grow. We think it's likely, especially if there's build out of some of the the developments that are proposed for the Four Corners area. It's more dense housing, and that could provide us with some quality of life issues, which challenge our service delivery model. We have a lot more people working from home now, so they're seeing things that they never saw before, and we're getting complaints about the ATV traffic and so forth. Don't think it's over on South Obtuse Way, but some over in that area somewhere. But we're getting some of those. We're getting some of those complaints now.
That was
These
a shot
quality of
across
life
the bow.
complaints, huh?
That was a shot across the bow, huh?
We're getting these complaints now from people who are home working, and these are disturbing to them during the day. So we're getting these complaints during the day when we used to just get them late in the day. We used to get them after school if schools are in or out of session and so forth. So they're added calls that we deal with. With the new school, are we going to add an SRO for that school? It's going to be a very big school. It's going to be the biggest school in Brookfield. It's going to have the most students in it. Maybe it makes sense to have another SRO there. So these are some of the things that we're looking at. Personnel selection, training, and retention. Pete Frangs runs our entry-level selection process, and he will be the first one to tell you that this year we hired 2 officers. We had 2 officers retire, and it was amazing how many people we had to go through to get people who passed the initial test to come to the oral board. I think we had to go through an additional almost 50 people, Pete, correct?
Yes, this was the most I've seen of not making an appointment or backing out after they made their appointments.
So people are choosing not to go into our career field who made a decision early on to go into law enforcement. So it's going to be a challenge for us. We think, obviously, the pendulum swings. We're hoping it swings back in our favor to some degree. We certainly hope so, especially in a town like Brookfield, where we have a very good town. We have a good agency, and we think things are going to be fine. But attracting quality candidates in a challenging environment is certainly something that we're looking at and have to analyze. And preparing current staff for promotion. And a lot of that has to do with funding salaries for the administrative staff who are non-union. Unions get automatic raises, but we have to make our positions attractive for somebody to want to move up out of the union environment into our salaries. We need to train them so that they're capable of it, and we need to compensate them adequately when they get here. And then we're looking at our facility. The building really no longer meets the needs of a modern police agency. We have no public spaces in here whatsoever. We can't do any community outreach and things of that nature in our facility. It's impossible, and it made even more so by COVID. We think the mandate for CALIA accreditation may point out some of these deficiencies, and what the impact of that will be, we're not sure. But the choices we have are to renovate or to build new, and full renovation, in place. We're looking at almost $17 million. The projected price for a new build is about $22 million. So it's really something we have to look long and hard at how we're going to do this. And then moving into the technology.
Hey, Chief, what's the timeline on the new building?
Well, we have plans, Ricky, and or I don't know who asked that question. Was it Ricky?
Ricky, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, you're right.
We have both plans. We have a renovation plan and we have a new build plan. I think a lot of that is going to depend upon how debt retires and what the grand list does over time and things of that nature. But it's something that needs to be, in our view.
But you don't know, like, timeline wise, like, the next 5 years, 10 years, exactly, kind of, or even roundabout, just when we expect this kind of funding to occur?
Yeah, Ricky, off the top of my head, I know it's in the 2026, 27, 28 timeframe to look at after we get over the bubble.
Okay. And the next area that I'd like to talk about that's right on the horizon pretty quickly is technology and communications. We had a request in this year for $4 million, which is really a placeholder amount. It's a budget amount. I wouldn't hang my hat on that dollar figure, but it gives you a sense that this is not an inexpensive project that needs to be done. You'll recall through the Outside Services Fund, we're currently engaged with the fire department, with the Public Works Department, with the schools, and with the Park and Rec Department, and we in the Police Department on a emergency radio communications system upgrade study. We have hired a consultant. The consultant is working with us. We're in the process. We've had our first couple of meetings. He's surveyed our infrastructure around town. We're completing surveys now. The volunteer fire department, both Pocono Road and Candlewood Company, are putting together their surveys. Our survey has been submitted. Eric Conklin from the town schools is putting his together. And then Ralph Tedesco and Jimmy Doctor from Public Works are including the Park and Rec people with their report. So the consultant will get all this together. Then he's going to continuously meet with us and evaluate what needs to be done to give Brookfield a solid, reliable system moving into the future, because the one we have right now is at end of life. It's not there's no warranty anymore. Parts are extremely hard to get, and it's just a matter of time before it fails, and we can't have that. We can't let that happen. We need to replace the hardware and software, and I think the two chiefs from the headquarters company and from Candlewood Company will probably both speak to that issue and tell you how important that is when they talk after us tonight. Our CAD and RMS system.
Chief, one more question on the radio systems. Were those the items that came on board in 2013?
Excuse me?
For the emergency radio system to replace that, were those in the previous slide? I think you put down that were those the ones that were from 2013 is when they were implemented?
No. These were well before that. That is the call record. That's a $17,000 computer basically that records all the phone calls and all the radio traffic in and out of the building. That just records those things. It doesn't power the whole system. This is the entire system. Repeaters, voting receivers, mobile radios, portable radios, base stations, all of that.
Gotcha. So like what's the normal life cycle for like this emergency radio system? Just thinking ahead, if it makes sense to kind of set a reserve for something like this, if it's an every 10 year, 20 year, 15 year, whatever.
Well, we're looking probably we're on the upside of 15 years at this point. And I think that pushes it. Most places I think are going to replace their radio systems every 15 years or so.
Okay.
We did not spend anywhere near this much the last time. Technology has marched on, and all around us have gone with new technology, and we're increasingly becoming an analog island within a digital world here around Brookfield. Interoperability is far more important today than it was back in 2004 or 5 when we were dealing with this the last time.
Yeah, makes sense.
So that's kind of what's driving it. The CAD and RMS system, a similar situation. Right now, the system works fine. It's stagnant, and it really isn't something that I think we're going to be able to hold on to for much longer. I think we're going to have to move forward with something new. We last replaced our CAD and RMS system back in 2005, and we did it with a grant from the federal government at the time, the Copsmore grant, funded the entire thing, and it was great. Depending upon where the state is going with some of their systems and so forth, and Marcia, I think, can tell you, we're working with CGIS and CISS and things of that nature, which are state level justice programs. They may drive us somewhere else. So I think we're going to be looking at that in the not too distant future. Our cybercrime investigations are getting increasingly more challenging. We do have some expertise, but we need more. Our citizens are asking us for help, and very often we have to push them outside of Brookfield. We should be able to give them more help than we're able to right now. And so I think we're going to have to work on building cybercrime capabilities. And then I think we really need to look at adoption of some drone technology in town, and I don't think that's just a police-specific function. I think it should be a shared program between the fire departments, the land use departments, the police department, public works. We can all benefit from the aerial photography and crash scene analysis and things of that nature that a drone program offers. So we're going to explore that. Not in this budget, but we think it's coming. The agencies around us are using it and using it successfully. And I think we have an obligation to bring the best technology that we can to Brookfield. So that's just a sampling of some of the things that we're looking at as things evolve. And again, there can be some cooperation with these things between police, fire, EMS, public works, the schools, shared assets. We don't have to buy, everybody doesn't have to have one, but we can get an asset, share it, train together, work together, and that makes us a better, more efficient and functioning public safety entity. So you're probably tired of listening to me, and that's all I have. So with that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Can anybody hear me? Hello?
We hear you.
We hear you.
Oh, really? Good evening, everyone.
Thank you, Matt. Your time has passed.
I'm using my wife's Mac and she's got things plugged in everywhere. The technology guy is having technology problems today. My apologies. Is there any questions for me that I've missed?
Does anybody have anything for Matt? Matt can talk to the body cams, to the patrol rifles, and to any of the technology issues.
And voice recorder. I think that was another one.
I don't hear anything. So.
Oh, well, that's good. Okay. Sorry about that.
That's pretty much my presentation, Eileen. Do you have anything, any questions of us that you want to get more specific? Anything that I might not have touched on within the lines that you were curious of?
No, I'm good. Dan, Mark, Brianna, or Ricky, anything else?
Chief, back to the very beginning of the presentation on the union wages, just to be clear that the 5% increase to 133, that is purely contractual plus step. There's no new positions in that, correct?
Correct.
Gotcha. I just want to make sure. Thanks.
Yeah, Dan, that includes those step increases and things of that nature.
Yep. Yeah, that the steps made more sense when I saw the big number. So that made sense.
Thank you all for your presentation tonight. We appreciate the time and everything you do for our town. It's been a different year than the previous ones, huh?
It has been, and we're looking forward to a return to somewhat normalcy, although we know it's going to be a new normal.
Yep.
You know, maybe it'll be more exciting and challenging and hopefully more rewarding. So we're looking forward to it.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Yep.
Okay. So next up, we've got fire. Sorry, I have the wrong agenda open.
We have center fire up first.
Thank you again, Mark.
Oh,
Okay.
Are we all open?
Eileen, would you like Candawood to go first, just because they have probably a quicker one than with us having two budgets? I don't know if that messes up your agenda or.
No, we can make a motion to move center ahead of Candlewood. Sorry, the other way around.
Candlewood ahead of center.
Yep. Then
They waited last time.
Okay.
We've always gone first for many years, so let them get on early.
Okay. We can start with
Ryan, do you want to run your own or do you want me to run yours?
Can you run mine? All
I can.
7 of my slides, I think I have.
All right.
Well, I'm used to going after headquarters and they already give you all the stats but they'll give them to you anyway.
Ryan, we appreciate 7 concise slides with all the information.
I'm just upset that Jay doesn't even stay on for my presentation. He got off already.
I'd feel a little slighted.
I know.
I was still here, Ryan. I'm hanging on your every word.
Oh, you still are here. Oh, there you are. Yeah, Marcia, if you want to share my screen, that would be perfect. Not share my screen, share my slides.
Yes. Screen 2. All right, you should be able to see it.
I can. So like Jay said in his presentation, if you have questions, jump in as I'm going. If not, at the end, I can answer any questions you have. I also have the chief on with me and the assistant chief on also tonight. So, and the vice president. I can't forget him. So our 2021-2022 budget presentation. So just our quick update on our 2020 accomplishment. Thousands of man hours, 100% volunteer for fire emergency rescue, apparatus and equipment maintenance and upkeep, training and certifications, there we go, business operations, and community event involvement, which has been limited this year, obviously. Adapted and implemented COVID procedures for the safety of our membership and the public. We are still training. We have gone to a sign-up process for our training to keep our numbers limited on Monday nights. We've gone to Zoom for our monthly and executive board meetings, which I find I like anyway. Zoom has made me want to stay with Zoom forever, I'll be honest. We began the design of our lounge remodel, and it's the first full year of the new Marine 25, which was actually one of the busiest seasons of Marine 25's ever had this year. The lake was busier than it has ever been this year. So the new boat was in operation for this is first full year in operation, and was its busiest year. All right, so I'll touch on our operating budget quickly. We have an overall operating budget of $166,655, which is a 0.25% decrease over last year. A couple of reasons we were able to decrease it was building and grounds line items were decreased due to recently completed projects and projects being currently done. And I'll touch on that I'll touch on it now, actually. So we, in the last year, had a flood in our firehouse due to a toilet that overflowed. With no one being up there, no one noticed it, and it created quite some damage. So we were able to get just under $60,000 from the insurance company for the repairs, and then put some of our own money in for the redesign of our lounge. Utilities are down slightly due to recently completed projects, including the new installation that we had done with Capital over the past few years. Our major increase this year is our insurance cost, which we have had conversations with both Marcia and Jules about, and we said we were open to bidding it townwide at some point. We have had conversations with our insurance agent in the past, and unfortunately there's only a few insurance companies that carry fire department insurance, but we're open to looking at it as between both departments. Capital requests, continued funding of our apparatus reserve. We had asked for $100,000. It was cut by the selectmen to 75. We're comfortable with that. The town has always been there in the past few years when we needed them to go purchase the apparatus. So we are comfortable with the $75,000 that the selectmen has decided to move into our apparatus reserve. Incident command vehicle, I'm going to keep asking for it. It was cut, but I'm going to keep asking for it anyway. It's a mobile office assigned to the chief. It provides the incident commander with tools to ensure safety of the firefighters and the public, and modern technology for communication, scene, and resource management.
Ryan?
Yeah.
Oh, it's on your next slide, 85 grand. It was just one.
Yes.
Thank you.
So we have asked for 85 grand. We
That
could.
was cut by the selectmen?
What?
That was cut by the selectmen?
Yes. And it has been brought that we could go buy out of our apparatus reserve, which I'm okay with, if that's the direction that people want us to go forward. Not the town's apparatus reserve, but the one we hold ourselves. Just with the understanding that then when we buy a new fire truck, we're going to have to ask for more money from the town in the future.
Sorry, Brian.
Yeah.
The command vehicle on the capital plan is $63,000.
I had the same question.
Then my slide is wrong.
Okay.
It was, so the command vehicle has been a few different numbers. It was cut once. But this one I submitted to the town asked for 85,000, but it was cut 65. That was if we used our own budget to upfit the vehicle with the lights and stuff like that.
Okay.
85,000 is what it would truly cost us at the end of the day.
Okay.
And we could pay for it out of our own reserves, but then knowing the town would have to provide more in the future.
Okay.
We had talked about going through and them paying a portion of it. And I believe that if you look at that, it's 30% that was cut, and that's the percent that they were going to pay out of their money.
That's why we keep Marcia on here.
Mm-hmm.
And she's controlling my slides. The next capital request we had asked for last year too, which is our replacement windows. Our replacement windows would be ideally to do this in this one when the lounge remodel is being done, because the walls are already going to be open. Our windows upstairs are crank out windows that currently do not operate. If we open them, we need to use a ladder to close them. So we had asked for the 25,000 last year. We're asking for it again this year.
You have ladders.
What? and a lot of our windows are actually encasement windows, and they're as old as the building in some cases. You skipped one, Marcia. You're too fast. And the other one is asbestos removal. We asked for $25,000 for asbestos removal. We do have some prices that have come in on it, but we're waiting on one final test result to determine if there's any additional asbestos in the building. As we're doing this renovation project, we have asbestos. Right now, the asbestos is in the tiles under the floor. So basically the glue that holds the rug down. I wish we didn't have it. We fought with the insurance company over and over again, asking for them to cover asbestos removal in our claim, to the point where I was literally cut and pasted the part of our insurance policy that says they do not cover asbestos removal. And then questions. I knew Mark's microphone was coming off.
Why am I always the bad guy?
I didn't say bad guy. I just said the question. I just knew you would have a question.
Your lounge.
Yes.
How much was the insurance covered? 60 grand?
Just under 60. And that included the original Serve Pro cost of having them come out.
Yeah. So you already paid that. You're already out of pocket that.
Yeah. No, insurance paid that directly already.
Oh, okay. Okay. So what is the remainder of the cost to finish above the almost 60,000?
So we have a golf tournament that we use so our overall cost will probably be just north of $100,000, because I have to emphasize we've always wanted to redo our lounge. And so we have taken it from the fix what the water caused to this is the best opportunity to redo what has always needed to be done. I mean, we literally still had wood paneling in our lounge. One of the problems with the insurance costs, honestly, was the wood paneling. We would have gotten more covered, but our baseboard was so big that the water didn't go high enough that they said you can replace the baseboard. You don't have to replace everything.
So you're paying for the remainder out of proceeds from a golf tournament or something?
Yep. Okay. So we run our annual golf tournament, and that money is designated for our building stuff like this.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah, that total project is closer to $150,000.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know why I said 100. Closer to 150.
Thank you, Jason.
But Jason likes to, and he's absolutely correct, likes to emphasize that it's no longer just a water damage fix. We are doing what we needed to do. Now it's just the right time to do it. Any other questions? There was a reason headquarters let me go first.
Well, when you have a short, concise program, we ask less questions. The longer your presentation is, the more questions we ask.
We one time have been at Board of Finance meetings where Board of Finance members left before our presentation. So I thank you guys all for staying.
You can do that?
No, thank you guys for everything you do.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Okay. On to center fire.
So can I share the screen? Because I have it up here. I did not send anything forward.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we only have six slides, and ours is for 2 budgets. So
wow, efficiency.
Sorry, this is. So this is our budget presentation for the 21-22 year, and this is going to include both our fire and EMS numbers and all that fun stuff. So just to give you a quick overview of what we did last year, we did, in addition to dealing with everything with COVID as the rest of the world and everybody else has mentioned, 725 fire calls and responded to 1,690 EMS calls. Of that, about 1,600 of them were transports. So this is our new addition there. On the left is the ambulance we just took delivery of in December and is in service as of January. The other one there has Jersey plates on it because that's where she went. We had a structure fire the other day, engine 1, our little Quint out there working. Same one there. And just some pretty pictures here of what we actually do with all of this fun stuff. So, we always got to give the pictures. So what we did is our fire operations first. So our overall increase is a 3.25, and this is now including some billing revenue. So I don't know if you want to go line by line. If you folks have specific questions to what's going on, personnel is our physicals. Every 5 years, all of our members will need to have chest x-rays done. Unless the doctor deems them to be needed earlier. So we're in the middle of that cycle for the majority of our members, which is why that number is down. That also includes background checks on all of our personnel, all of our new members. Training, there's an increase because we do have, we're adding in some training, but we've also added an online service. COVID taught us a lot. Obviously, some people love Zoom and Google Meets and all of that. I have personally do not, but I'm on them all day long. But anyway, so this is going to allow online training. So when we can't necessarily be in person, we have a place to go. And we'll also have that on the EMS side for our certifications that we need to maintain. It's all done online now by the state. Our operations line went up. We've added something called Samsara, which is a vehicle monitoring program. So similar to what the police have, but not as elaborate. All of our apparatus and ambulances now have cameras on them, inside and outside the vehicles. So we can assess our driving. If something happens, we had somebody cut off one of our ambulances, and had there been impact, they probably would have pointed fingers at our ambulance. But when you see the footage, the ambulance was traveling 25 on Federal Road, and somebody went from the left lane and went across 2 lanes into Rollingwood in front of them. So thankfully, our driver was very experienced and not going, as fast as he possibly could down Federal Road. So there is an online maintenance or yearly maintenance agreement to maintain that for all of our apparatus. So that's also on the EMS side. Our equipment expenses, that is all of our, I'm looking back and forth here. That is, the biggest part of that is going to be about $14,000 is accounting for our meters and our bottles. We have those in reserve. Our SCBA bottles, if you remember, we got them with a grant in 2014, I believe, 13. And it was like a $700,000 grant. And in 15 years, the bottles have to be replaced. So instead of kind of kicking that down, we've been putting that money away. And last year it was omitted from the budget. So that's really the biggest thing there. That's the reserves for those, as well as our meters that we replace every 4 years. So again, we don't have to come to you and go, oh, by the way, we need to replace 178 bottles and they are, you know, $1,000 or $2,000, whatever the number will be in 15 years. So our vehicle expenses, minor, that's more of a cost of living for maintaining the vehicles. Everything's a year older. So building and grounds is accounting for a lot of the new cleaning that we need to do, in addition to, what was the other big thing in there that I can't think of right now? Oh no, the LED changeover. This is where we did the LED replacement here, and this is where we're paying for that contract to, you know, again, that's a lease, or not a lease, it's a loan payment. So that's where that is in the building and grounds. Our utilities are down a little bit, and biggest piece is that the LEDs, the lighting, and we have everything on timers. So you shouldn't see any lights on when you drive by here if nobody's here. And we put the new roof on, which is obviously keeping the heat in the building opposed to letting it all go outside. So the bays are staying nice and warm and we're not losing that heat. So we've seen our heating consumption go down a little bit. Office and administration, this is where our insurance is. And you'll see a little bit of an uptick on the ambulance side because we went through and broke them all out. So this is a true number for our insurance in terms of our fire trucks versus our ambulances. And so we split it. So it's $43,000 for the fire side, and it's an additional $23,000 for the EMS side. So you'll see that broken out. So that's why that number looks like, you know, it's a big savings, but really, you know, it's just moved to another location. So that brings us to that 370, and we are predicting $1,000 a month on a billing revenue that we're starting to see some money come in with that. So that brings us down to that 359 number. Questions, comments, concerns? No? Okay.
The storage for the cameras on the vehicles, is that anything that could be, I mean, it's probably different systems, maybe not, but could that be lumped together with the cloud storage that the police department just talked to us about?
It's a different system, and I believe the police department stuff has security issues as far as the police department will talk about that, but their stuff is kind of secured a little differently than ours. And yeah, they are different systems, and the one the police department has is much more elaborate, more expensive than the one that we have.
Okay.
Our this system, computer system, or the tracking system, also the GPS system, and also monitors all the vehicles' systems. So if there's a mechanical problem, we get alerted. I get an email. Our mechanic gets an email, and we're able to address issues ahead of time before we have an issue. So it's a really not just for the camera purposes, but as far as the diagnostic system of the vehicles too.
Great.
Good. Can I flip to EMS?
Okay.
So our EMS, this one has a sizable increase because we're looking at doing something a little different with this. So I'm going to have Andy talk about the personnel piece of it because that's really the biggest driver behind this, and then I'll come back and talk about the other pieces of the puzzle.
As you guys know, we bill for our email service, and we collect about 60%, I think, on our collections.
60 to 70.
60 to 70, it depends on the year. We're driven by Medicare, Medicaid. 7 out of 10 patients in Brookfield that we transport are Medicare, Medicaid. What that means is if we send them a bill for $1,300 or $1,400, which is regulated by the state, the federal government says, that's awesome, good for your bill here, here's $380, and you're gonna take it. So that drives down our profits, obviously not profits, but our billing revenue down. COVID happened and totally changed how EMS in the last year has been administered nationally and regionally here. calls are taking longer, the decontamination process, the turnaround time at the hospital. We used to be able to run down there, drop somebody off, be able to shoot back pretty quick. That's not happening. We need to increase our staffing and kind of how we do things. We're working with our current vendor right now to kind of make a hybrid EMS system, make it a little better, a little stronger, increase our coverage. We're gonna have supervisors during the day that are on call at night. So we're gonna have redundant backups. I don't sleep too well at night sometimes, knowing that we don't have really good coverage at night. And this is gonna help it, especially since COVID happened, because everybody's busy. We used to be able to call the area town and say, hey, look, we need an ambulance. They're all tied up. They're all busy. We're all in this same boat. So we need to stay with the trends. We've been very good about doing that over the last several years. We've increased our staffing levels and hours that we cover. This is the next step that we need to take. As a matter of fact, I am confident with the numbers, but I'm not 100% confident. So I almost think a contingency, if you guys are talking like that, I think it's something we should think about for EMS going forward to put aside, because I honestly can't tell you. I mean, a year ago, if you asked me what was going to happen, I wouldn't know. And now here we are, and it's very dynamic. So, and I don't want to be close to, having wrong numbers, and we're doing our best here as far as an estimate goes, because I don't know what's going to happen.
Andy?
Yes, sir.
So when you think of a contingency, which for this ambulance or EMS operation, which I'm thinking might be a good idea, what are you thinking of? Would you think would be appropriate to carry for a contingency? $5,000, $10,000, $100,000? What do we look?
I think 50,000 would probably be a good number to start with, and to see how it
50?
goes. 50. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that might be a good idea, because I honestly don't know what's going to happen. We rely on volunteers to cover our night shifts right now. We're down some. I know I'm paying guys to cover. We're paying staff to cover some night shifts. And again, I don't know what's going to happen with our call volume. That nursing home that's being built, 300 above or below 305 Federal Road, there, the old Avon Auto property. That's going to give us an increase of calls. We average 1.8 calls per bed in a nursing home per year. That's a 100+ bed facility. So that's going to give us a couple hundred extra responses a year that I know is coming, and I need to plan for that. And I'm trying to do the best I can. I can pretty much guarantee you the next year or two, I'll be coming to you asking for additional staffing during the day, because it's just the ambulance is just going to be that busy with that facility. That's what happened when 246 Federal Road came in, Village of Brookfield Commons. So we have some experience with that. And every time I drive by it, it just concerns me, because we need to make sure we're adequately protected. Our old backup service, Danbury Ambulance, was bought by Danbury Hospital, and they combined, where we used to have 2 services at Danbury, in the city of Danbury, and we had a bunch of ambulances down there. Well, those numbers are down. We don't have the quantity of ambulances in Danbury to help us back up. So we need to be planning ahead what's going on. So a contingency would be a really good idea. The increased staffing numbers, those are must-haves. I'm also trying to provide continuity in care. I don't want to have different providers every day working here. They work different places all the time. We ran into a problem with COVID, where if somebody worked in Milford, somebody worked in Southbury, somebody worked in Brookfield in the same week, and they were exposed. Well, they just didn't expose our people, they exposed everybody else. So it became a problem for us. So we're trying to contain, we will be containing our people who are working just here. We're working with the vendor to do that right now. After budget time, I'm going to propose that we establish either a committee or a task force or whatever we need to do about taking the next step and studying Brookfield EMS, because I think we need to do something differently. The times are changing, and I think between the Board of Finance, the Board of Selectmen, the personnel people in town, the fire company, EMS, we can come up with a better plan to for these people to work and for us to maybe enhance our system and maybe save the town some money. So I think that's probably after budget time is something we should look at and get some people together to make this work. And I think that would really work well. The staffing numbers, it is what it is. And with the minimum wage going up, I mean, our EMTs can make more work in that ShopRite on a Sunday than they could starting out as an EMT in Brookfield right now. And that's I don't want that level of care. I want good quality people I want people to stay there. I don't want turnaround. You know, my equipment's getting beat up by having a constant change of people and people driving it. And it's just, we need to take this step for the ambulance for personnel. It's going to enhance our system. We're going to have extra people, added coverage. Again, I wish I had a crystal ball, but the last year's told me I can't even begin to even guess what could happen. So this is our best guesstimate. And I think we'll be all right. But again, this is in this pandemic world, in emergency medical services, it's ever changing. And
Well, I like the idea of you thinking of contingency instead of just asking for 50 grand more that you may or may not need. So.
yeah, because I don't know if I need it. I don't think we will. I don't know. But I think it's a good idea if you guys have in the back of your head, hey, you know what, we might need it or we might not. You know, and I have no problem along those lines. I feel comfortable with that. It is what it is. The cost of running the service is what it is. It's black and white. It's not like it's, you know, it's anything other than that. Personnel is personnel.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
Sorry, can I just ask, Steve, I thought when the assisted living place was coming in that there was some agreement that they would have some on-site personnel. I mean, I know it's going to increase the number of EMS calls, but I thought there was also an agreement that they would have some staff so that things could get triaged before an ambulance was called. Is that, am I remembering wrong?
We had asked the zoning board to stipulate as one of the conditions of construction that they have a 24-hour on-site presence of medical personnel, not by phone from Southbury or somewhere else. I have to double check if they actually did stipulate that. I don't know, Eileen.
Okay.
It's still not going to keep our call volume down. They're going to look at them, and what in my experience has been that the medical provider looks at them and says, all right, they need to go to the hospital for a test, because they really can't do anything there.
Okay.
You know, other than.
I think that will happen, but some little things that we're getting called for now, right? If there was a nurse
if they
on.
fall out of the bed, we get called.
Yeah.
You know, and the problem is if someone's at home having a heart attack or taking their last breath, and we're in the middle of the night or at that, you know, and not that it's not warranted, but you know, we need to make sure that we have redundancies in place and adequate coverage. And right now we don't, and this will get us to where we need to be. And I'll sleep a little better at night because it's all on my shoulders. I feel responsible for it, and you know that everybody here, our citizens, deserve, you know, to be protected and know that they call 911. We're going to be there quick. So is that anything more on personnel costs? Then we can go over to the rest of the presentation.
All right, the training, in addition to, again, that online, all of our EMTs are now going to be doing all their certifications online. So part of that online service is that, in addition, we would like to run and have an EMR class, which would bring some of our firemen onto the ambulance and possibly some more EMTs. So our goal for the fall is to get an EMR course, which is just another certification, hopefully run it in-house, but so that's driving some of that training and costs.
And what that is there are times we run out of ambulances in town. We just run out. They'll have 3 calls, we'll have no ambulances, and someone will call and say, I'm having a heart attack or my leg's broken. And there's a lag time between the time that they get care. So we're going to bring the fire department into it, our firefighters, and make them first responders. So if we have a call where there's going to be a long time where we're going to have no patient care, the firefighters are going to be able to go provide initial medical care, wait for either one of our ambulances to clear up or somebody from our mutual aid partners to come out. Similar to what the police department does.
So that's our big driving force there. In terms of our what's our next one? Sorry, operations. That is largely, again, the Samsara, the video system for the ambulances and medical supplies and disposables. Again, as with everything with COVID, we don't really know where numbers are going to go. It's a best guess as to what our expenditures will be. We're very well stockpiled with supplies, but we need to maintain that at this point. Our equipment expense, we have some communications equipment that, as Chief Purcell talked about, that we're in the process of evaluating where we're going with that, but it's out of warranty. So if something breaks, we're paying for it now. We did have a large purchase, again, with a grant. We've been fortunate. We've received about $1.5 million in grants in the last 15 years And we've got several more out there, but as these things run out of time, we have to, pay for them. Utilities is down again, the LED. Oops, I'm sorry, I skipped like a whole bunch there, sorry. Vehicle expense, obviously we brought a new ambulance on board, so we got rid of one that was well past her life. So again, that's just more of like a cost of living increase based on the newer ambulances. Building and grounds, that little bit of an increase, again, has to do with the loan payments for the LED upgrade, which falls under the utilities, which is why that one is down. The insurance went into the office and administration, and even though that was $23,000, we did have some excess there that we were able to trim down. So that's why that $9,000 is there. We had some reservations about what our actual revenue would be for the current year with everything going on with COVID. And we did initially see some downward trends, but we look to be on target for where we are this year. So we're hoping for a little better year next year in terms of our revenue. And so there's our bottom line. So it is a 33% increase. The biggest driver being that personnel and adding that 24, having 2 paramedics 24 hours a day is really a big thing that's driving that that whole thing. So
just so you guys are aware, you're getting, our ambulance service provides 1 paramedic and an EMT 16 hours a day with a volunteer covering the other 8. And we have a paramedic and an EMT 10 hours a day, 8 to 6. So that $543,000 that we're asking for does all that and equips everything and provides insurance and pays for all of our staff that we have. The rest of it is done in billing revenue. So we're getting a pretty good deal, in my opinion, for what the product that we have, for the amount of staff that we have and the amount of coverage for the cost, because we are, recovering, almost $630,000 in billing revenue. So it's a pretty good deal.
any questions on that one, or we have 2 quick slides on capital? Get out of here before.
Okay.
All right. So our capital, we'll start with our fire. The first one is a utility pickup truck. We have one currently. And as the chief will be more than happy to tell you, we'd rather, if we have a storm or something, these things prove invaluable. And we'd rather have something happen to one of those instead of, a $750,000 fire truck. So we're looking at purchasing an additional pickup truck. And again, during these storms, and it seems like we're getting more and more of them.
The one we currently have is 12 years old. It will be going up to the center firehouse to be used. So we have a utility vehicle in every firehouse, Candlewood, and our center station and here. It'll be used for first responder for medical calls for that program we're talking about. And if we're moving personnel around. With COVID, I can't cram 6 people in a fire truck. I need to separate them. I can't, in our big fire trucks, we can put 6 people, but we've been putting 4 and not put 2 in the middle. So we have some distance, keep the windows down. So the pickup truck is 4-door and we need to move people around and equipment. So this is it's a big need for us.
And
we pay a third of the price. That 29,000 would be the cost of the town, and we would pick up the balance. The other
that's
third.
what I was going to ask. 29. Were you buying it used, or are you picking something up yourself?
No, I mean,
go off the state bid.
the state bid. It's got rubber. Our pickup truck's got rubber floors, roll-up windows. They're really not fancy.
43.5.
Yeah, it's 43.5 total price.
Yep.
But the cost of the town will be 29,000. Again, that's our priority one capital request because of the COVID and moving people around and the versatility of it. And quite frankly, I'd rather, we've had these storms between the snowstorms and Isaias and the macrobursts and numerous other incidents. I would rather bang up one of these vehicles because we can't decide not to go. We were out in the height of Isaias. We had one of our ambulance captain almost got killed with a tree that fell on his truck and damaged it. And so we need to have the versatility of that vehicle. So that's what I thought. And the other thing is the HVAC control system at this firehouse, as we're sitting here freezing right now. There are no thermostats in this building. We turn the heat on demand when we're in here. It's like 58 degrees in there right now. So it's really, it's poorly set up. It has been for years. It needs to get addressed. It's a major issue. Right now, we've contracted with
And with an electrical engineering firm, I just had a discussion today with Jules Capitos, and he's gonna get hooked in with the engineer who will put an RFP together for the actual work that needs to be done once the engineer determines what it is, such that we now have thermostats in the building doing what a normal building would do. And he'll be involved in the RFP process and selecting a vendor and having the work done.
So you don't have electric heat, do you?
No.
You have
We have
gas,
propane,
but you're
but-
contracting with an electrical engineer to figure the controls out?
Yeah, the issue is this, right now, we either turn on the heat or we have it off. If we turn it on, it can get up to 85, 90 degrees in this room. So then somebody goes and turns it off, then it drops back down. Same thing in the summertime, the air conditioning runs the same way. It'll start dropping down into the low 60s and you're freezing in this meeting room we're sitting in right now.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying you're not in need. I'm just wondering, but I remember seeing thermostats in the building when we did our walkthrough.
Yes,
don't
but
work?
the way we had it was there's a thermostat for the non-occupied time. Let's say the winter, right? We set that to 60 degrees.
Yeah.
The second thermostat is set to say 68 degrees. If you come in that room, you turn a timer. The timer flips over to the 68-degree thermostat. Well, that stopped working about, I don't know, probably 6 years ago, 7 years ago, when we redid the entire heating and HVAC system for the most part. And we could never get it straightened out from that point on.
All right, well, maybe Andy or one of you can call me tomorrow or the next day. We can, or over the
Sure.
weekend. Maybe, I don't want to hold
Come take a
everything.
look at it. How about that?
Let's let me come down and take a look at it.
Wonderful. I would
Fantastic.
appreciate that.
All right, the last item that we have on this side is the vehicle stabilization equipment for about 26.5. And so what this is actually a series of struts, and it's for putting, if a vehicle is unstable before we start to work on it, we need to stabilize it in order to get the patient out. So these are those struts that we are looking at getting. We do.
The equipment we have currently is aged out and needs to be replaced. It's a safety issue. It's time. They've just exceeded their life expectancy and they gotta go.
So that's the full set there, including those heavy, that's a garbage truck there on top of 2 cars. So that's, these are heavy duty, especially with the kind of truck traffic that we have here in Brookfield and having just a couple of weeks ago, the Mitchell truck rollover on the Lake Road. So that's the vehicle stabilization.
So how come you have the pickup truck as the top priority and that was removed and this one is not the top? It would seem to me that this would be a higher priority than the pickup truck.
Because if, I gotta be honest with you, if the town we don't get this in capital, I will get the fire company to buy it.
We also have a grant on this.
And I have a grant working on it too. So that's why.
For stabilization.
Correct.
So then,
I need that vehicle. That's more important to me. It was number one when I put it in my capital request. That is important. The other thing, I have a grant out for it I might get, and if not, I will get the fire company to buy it because I know I can get that through.
There you go. That could be the solution. Okay, thanks. I'm taking notes. Thanks, Andy.
All right, thank you. Thanks for asking.
So on to our EMS requests. So here we are looking for stretchers and stair chairs for our ambulances. And so the idea in the future is that this is replacing one set or our oldest set? I wish Derek was here. Our ambulance captain got held up. So this is replacing one set. So this is the stretcher and the stair chair. In the future, this will be a part of our ambulance as they are mounted in the ambulances. But we didn't do that with this ambulance. So that would be that $48,000 for those 2 items. In addition, the AEDs, we have some of them that are 16 years old at this point. They're no longer serviceable. And so kind of doing that quick prayer and hoping that it's working. We do have all of our EMTs have defibrillators. And they are, like I said, at this point, they're still operating, but they are out of their service life. They are running out of their battery life, so we won't be able to get those. So they will become null and void at some point here, and we'll have EMTs and such without them at all. And everybody, like I said, has them in their car. So if they happen to be next door to you, that's a wonderful save. And then the first responder vehicle, again, for that addition of the our EMRs, EMTs, and our on-call.
That's going to be for our on-call paramedic. That's going to be on at night. The program is going to be started very shortly. We have an old used recycled police car. You heard Captain Franks talk about the 9,000 hours and everything. I can't have a not dependable vehicle like that. A recycled police car for us for that function isn't going to work. So we need to get them a vehicle that we can, utilize to be a first responder vehicle. To be on call, they'll have it with them 24 hours a day, and it needs to be a beefy 4x4, SUV. And again, we would pay for. We're committed to pay for at least a third of the price of that to make sure that we can get that off the ground.
So that's everything we've got for you for this evening.
Any of the board members have any questions? I know we asked them during the presentation.
I think I promised less slides, less questions, so I'm done.
we held up our end of the bargain.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm good.
Me too.
Some horse trading to be going on next week, but this is good.
Yeah, next week's not going to be easy, but it never is.
No.
Well, if you guys have any further questions, feel free to call us while you're doing your deliberations. You guys have my cell phone number, and if you need any further clarification or you have questions, please don't hesitate to call. We'll zoom in or whatever we can do to help you guys. If you have any questions as far as our operations going and what we really need to operate.
Yeah, and call me this weekend. Saturday probably better than Sunday. I'll come over.
You got it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah and Andy.
And Lou's here too.
Yeah, hey Lou.
Sorry.
You're not in the picture. But...
You were hiding.
There he is.
We heard your voice.
We did spend quite a bit of our own money this year on things, and one of those things is our conference room. So, and we're all vaccinated, so we can take our masks off and work together here.
Excellent. Very good. Okay.
Right.
Anybody else? Okay. Then, so we have our next agenda item then is just general budget discussions. Is there anything
Dropping off the call in?
What?
You dropping off the call in?
Yeah, no worries.
Yep.
Thank you.
Good bid to adieu. Good night.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything I want to discuss tonight until we get into deliberations.
Yeah,
Yep.
me neither. Okay, doesn't look like we have any public comment and any public to comment, but I'll ask anyways. Hearing none. I'll make a motion to adjourn. A second. Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
See you Monday.